Hey, what is up, mortals? Welcome to All Might Never Got Enjoyed Season 1 Part 2. Just wanted to greet you guys by just saying sit back and relax, you're in for a treat, and so we begin. Things didn't entirely return to normal after everyone returned to UA. The UA Sports Festival was coming up after all. All of the students were starting to work harder with their training. All Might could see them improving by leaps and bounds. Hey, All Might. The pro hero saw a familiar mop of dark green hair with a freckled face approach him. Ah, young Midoriya. It's good to see you. How have you been? I've been fantastic. Most everyone in general studies is very nice and no one is holding back on me in training, even though I'm quirkless. That's good to hear. And how is your training going? It's been great. I've been sticking to the training regime you gave me, too. I'm hoping to place high enough in the sports festival to get transferred to the hero course. It's thanks to you that I'm even here, All Might. Don't sell yourself short, young man. You've been sticking to the training and it sounds like you've been coming into your own. I'm quite proud of you. Tears welled up in Midoriya's eyes as he bowed to his teacher, thanking him again. Just like before, All Might helped his students improve their quirk handling and get stronger. They were greatly improving and seemed to be doing well, considering the events of the past week. The sports festival arrived and the crowds were eager to see what the first years were made of. The festivities started with a 4-kilometer obstacle course around the stadium. The race began and a majority of the students got bottlenecked in the exit. The 1A students acted fast and got out of that trap quickly, past the battle bots, over the drop, and through the minefield. The students progressed through the obstacle course and crossed the finish line. Todoroki was the first to cross, shortly followed by Bakugo. Shizaki took third place sometime after, followed by Honuki and Ida. Up to the 42nd place in the race would advance to the cavalry battle. Teams were made and the event began. Several groups rushed Todoroki's team in an attempt to get the 10 million plus headband. It was a chaotic display of quirks as 12 teams fought for first place. The event came to an end and Team Todoroki's efforts were rewarded as they maintained first place. Although Bakugo's team gave it their all, they only claimed second place. Team Midoriya got by with third place thanks to Kamakiri's knowledge on 1AS quirks. Team Shinso sat comfortably in fourth place, due to having no memory of the cavalry battle. Ajiro and Shota withdrew, causing Tatsu and Shiozaki to move on. The tournament began, with some outcomes not going as one would have expected. Shinso from 1B won his match by brainwashing Midoriya and commanded him to walk out of bounds. Todoroki encased Zero in ice to win his fight. Kamakiri carved through Shiizaki's jungle-like hair and threw her from the ring. Even though Ito was used as a marketing tool by Hatsune, he came out on top. Ashido pantsed Aoyama and delivered a swift uppercut to his jaw, claiming victory. Yoirazu was forced out of bounds by Takoyami in Dark Shadow. Kirishima and Testutetsu's fight ended in a comical double knockout. Bakugo and Uraraka had a full-on war of attrition until the Infinity Girl passed out. The quarter-final fight started with great intensity. Shinso and Todoroki faced each other. Even though he wasn't able to get Todoroki brainwashed, Shinso fought his hardest. But the cold became too much for the purple-haired teen and he eventually froze. Todoroki moved on to the semi-finals. Next up were Ada and Kamakiri. Ada's speed-boosted kicks and quick movements weren't getting through Kamakiri's defenses, but that same speed was also preventing Kamakiri from landing any hits on the class rep. It was only when the Recipro burst stalled his engines was Kamakiri able to tackle Ida to the ground and hold a blade to his throat. Kamakiri moved on to the semi-finals. Ashido had to face Takoyami in Dark Shadow. The tag team of Darkness put the acidic girl on the back foot from the start. Dark Shadow forced Ashido out of bounds, allowing Takoyami to advance to the semi-finals. After winning the arm wrestling match against Tetsu, Kirishima moved on to fight Bakugo. The battle between the spiky redhead and explosive blonde was the perfect example of what would happen if an immovable object met an unstoppable force. The constant onslaught of attacks eventually broke down Kirishima's defenses. Bakugo defeated Kirishima and moved on to the semi-finals. The semi-finals started with one heck of a matchup, Todoroki versus Kamakiri. Half and Half launched many ranged ice attacks. The Mohawk teen cut through the attacks and rushed towards Todoroki. Kamakiri forced his opponent to fight him in close quarters, clearly throwing off Todoroki's groove. I didn't think you were a coward, Todoroki. Kamakiri kept forcing Todoroki closer to the edge. 'Cause only cowards hold back. Todoroki tried to freeze Kamakiri to the ground, but his efforts were cut short by his classmates' relentless attacks. It also wasn't in Todoroki's favor to only use his right side. The cold was slowing him down greatly. Kamakiri claimed victory by throwing Todoroki out of bounds. The last match of the semi-finals was Bakugo versus Takoyami. The tag team of Darkness fought their best against the sweaty human firework. However, unlike his previous fights, Takoyami and Dark Shadow were on the defensive. Each blazing attack Bakugo threw only weakened the Shadow. It didn't take long for Takoyami to get pinned down and grappled by the beak. Bakugo kept the fearful dark shadow in check by sparking bright explosions in its face. This was a bad matchup for you from the start, bird. Takoyami could only scowl at Bakugo as Dark Shadow whimpered nervously. I give up. Now was the final matchup everyone was fearing, Bakugo versus Kamakiri. These two had it out for each other since day one. Now that they had free reign to go all out, no one knew what would happen. Kamakiri's training before the sports festival increased his perception and reflexes, while Bakugo's training made his attacks more powerful and focused. The two boys seemed evenly matched as blades sundered and blasts rang out. Midnight and Cementos were starting to consider getting involved to stop the fight. Both boys were showing strong signs of injury. Bakugo had several dozen lesions decorating his body as his arms occasionally spasmed from his overusing his explosion. Kamakiri had burns of varying degrees splotched all over him as his forearms bled from overuse of this quirk. The fighters were breathing heavily, their legs quaking from fatigue. You ready to give up, firecracker? In your dreams, roach face. Just as Bakugo explosion boosted forward for another string of attacks, Kamakiri retracted his blades and raised his hands in surrender. I give up. I'm too worn out to continue. Kamakiri sidestepped the dumbfounded Bakugo's blitz as Midnight proclaimed the blonde the winner. What the hell? You can't just give up. I just did. What you gonna do about it? Screaming profanities, Bakugo tried to attack Kamakiri but was quickly put to sleep by Midnight's quirk. After a break to heal the injured, the award ceremony began. Todoroki and Takoyami stood together on the third-place pedestal. Kamakiri, who was wrapped in several gauze and bandages, stood proudly on the second-place pedestal. Then there was the ferocious king of the mountain. Chained and muzzled to the first-place pedestal was Bakugo. He thrashed around wildly against his restraints. All Might made his presence known with a hearty laugh as he leaped to the central area of the arena. He began to hand out the medals, starting with third place. I'm proud of you too. You've come quite a long way since the beginning of the year. However, you can't always rely so heavily on your quirks. If you work to improve your own strength, you'll have more options when you fight. Thank you, sir. Todoroki simply nodded. All Might could tell that something was on the young man's mind. The pro hero hugged both of his students. If there's anything either of you wants to talk about, I'll always be here for you. All Might held his students for a second more before moving on to Kamakiri and adorning him with the second-place medal. You did incredibly well in your final fight, young Kamakiri. You seem to be the only one in 1A that can keep up with Bakugo's aggression. But your hot-headedness could have gotten you in a worse situation. I know, I'm trying to get a better handle on my temper, but it's difficult sometimes. I can see where you're coming from. If you ever need help, don't hesitate to ask. Kamakiri nodded, understanding. All Might hugged Kamakiri before he moved on to the restrained and snarling Bakugo. Now then, young Bakugo. All Might removed the muzzle from his student's face. You did what you set out to do since the beginning of the sports festival. All Might. The anger began to rise within Bakugo. This isn't a real victory. I refuse to win like this. How can you expect me to accept that medal when my opponent threw the match? All Might had to resist facepalming as he tried to put the medal around Bakugo's neck. Just take this medal, okay? Think of it as a memento. I told you, I don't want that trash. As much as Bakugo tried to resist, All Might managed to get the medal to hang from Bakugo's mouth. All Might took that small victory. Confetti started to fly and the crowd cheered as the sports festival came to a close. All Might, in the guise of Toshinori, returned home after the long day. He turned on the news for some background noise as he started making some dinner. He was just about to sit down to eat when the broadcasted tragedy came to his ears. The pro-hero Ingenium had an exchange with the hero killer Stain and Hasu and was nearly killed. The hospital he was admitted into wasn't giving any detail, but from what was known about Stain's past victims, Toshinori feared the worst. He also feared for Ada. How would his student react to almost losing his brother? Toshinori imagined a violent torrent of anger, pain, and despair flooding the young man's mind because that's what he felt after losing Nana. Ada will need the support of someone that knows what he's going through, but what could I say that will help him? That thought plagued Toshinori's mind for the next few days. It was only when the students were getting ready to leave for their internships did All Might make his move. Young Ada, could I borrow you for a moment? Of course. How are you holding up? After everything with your brother? I'm fine, All Might. Ada was saying one thing, but the pain and anger in his eyes were telling a different story. Ada. All Might laid a hand on his student's shoulder. Very few know about this, but I wasn't much older than you when I lost my mentor in a fight with a villain. Ada's eyes widened as his teacher continued. She died and I wasn't strong enough to protect her. The rage and sorrow I felt almost drove me to face her killer before I was anywhere near ready. I think I know where you're going with this, All Might. That may be so, but I still feel the need to say it. All Might knelt to Ada's level to look his student in the eyes. Do not go after Stain, no matter how tempting vengeance sounds. Can you promise me that, Tenya Ada? Ada was quiet for a while, breaking eye contact with his teacher. Okay, All Might. I won't go out of my way to find the hero killer. Good. I'll see you next week. All Might could see that the rage hadn't left Ada's eyes, but he had to trust that his student would do the right thing. There was nothing more that he could do now. It was now the third night of the internships. All Might had been out on patrol near Hasu when he caught sight of glowing flames and rising smoke on the skyline. He arrived to see different types of monsters similar to Namu wreaking havoc. The symbol of peace rushed onto the scene, pulling a couple of civilians out of danger. He turned his attention to the coal-skinned Namu, the eyeless monster somehow glaring at him. Didn't think I'd be running into you again, Namu. The creature's only response was to throw a truck at All Might. The pro hero caught the vehicle and threw it right back to the coal Namu. A brawl between the brainless monster and the symbol of peace broke out. Other heroes were on the scene, trying to take down the winged Namu and quench the fires. Damn it, where are you, Ada? All Might overheard Manuel talking to himself as he bent the water into the flames. Now's not the time to be running off on your own. Why wasn't Ada with Manuel? Is it possible that he... No, he wouldn't, Ada promised. The coal Namu punched All Might in the gut while he was distracted. The hero crashed into a building. He began to cough profusely and tasted blood. Just as the coal Namu was going to assault All Might further, a pair of flaming hands grabbed the monster's head. Deep orange flames that turned bright blue erupted from the hands. The coal Namu fell limp and a familiar figure stood behind it. Your age must be starting to get to you, All Might. The number 2 hero didn't bother to help his rival stand up. That creature shouldn't have caught you off guard. Long time, no see, Endeavor. All Might looked past Endeavor to see Todoroki using his eyes to help put out the last of the fires. Have you seen any of my students? Focus on the task at hand. All Might. You can worry about your students when we get done here. Endeavor jumped into action to fight against the winged Namu while All Might stood on the sidelines internally conflicted. Should he help take down the last Namu that had caused destruction and hurt an unknown number of people? Or should he look for Ada and find him before Ada finds Stain? The winged Namu dodged the grasps of several pro-heroes before taking Todoroki in its talons and soaring away, several dozen stories skyward. Shoto. Endeavor was the first to start running after the winged Namu with All Might on his heels. As his father and teacher made chase, Todoroki grabbed the winged Namu's leg and began to freeze it. The creature began to slow down and made threatening noises at the boy. Take it down, Endeavor. I'll catch him. Endeavor hucked a flaming lance at the winged Namu, hitting it squarely in the back of the head. The creature dropped the boy. All Might sprinted ahead and jumped a few stories up. He caught his student and slid along the concrete as he landed. All Might set down his student. Todoroki, are you okay? Yeah, I'm fine. It's getting away. Endeavor ran past his son and his rival. Right. Todoroki, let's go. Yes, sir. The trio kept up the chase. The winged Namu limped as it flew down the streets. Endeavor threw another fire spear, hitting the Namu's wing. The winged Namu began to fall. All Might spiked the Namu to the ground, knocking it out. Before the trio could wrap up their catch, a knife flew from a darkened alleyway and plunged into Endeavor's leg. All eyes moved to the man in red that emerged from the shadows. All Might, the man with many blades, stared at the blonde hero with intense bloodlust. Decided to show yourself, Stain. I already took care of 2 hero wannabes tonight. I heard you were in town and I immediately wanted to fight you. Shoto, get the other pro heroes over here. We'll need all the help we can get. Todoroki did as he was told and started to run. Stain was about to throw a knife at the student, but All Might got in the way of that real quick. He rushed at the hero killer, fists ready to attack. Stain avoided the attacks before getting some distance between him and All Might. The swordmaster looked visibly disgruntled as the teenager got away. Flames rushed at Stain. He avoided the attack and blitzed at Endeavor. The number 2 hero wasn't prepared for Stain's immense speed as the hero killer ripped the knife from Endeavor's leg and lapped up the blood. The flame hero fell to his knees, completely paralyzed. Stay out of this, faker. With the symbol of peace in my sights, you're not even worth my time. All Might couldn't believe what he just witnessed. No wonder so many heroes fell by your hands. You're quite impressive. That means a lot coming from a real hero. You're the only one that I'll allow to kill me. The hero killer drew his katana, its jagged edge looking nasty, just like the wicked smile of its wielder. Now, give me a fight worth dying for. Stain gave his soul to the fight. All Might needed to stop the hero killer then and there. No more blood would be shed by this heartless murderer. All Might landed a hefty punch across Stain's face, sending him skidding across the pavement. All Might thought he killed the guy. The hero killer picked himself up, blood pouring from his broken cheekbone, yet his psychotic smile that never wavered. The grin only fell when a fireball slammed into Stain's back. You forget about me. Endeavor stood from his once paralyzed state. All Might, let's double team this psycho. Right. The 2 pro heroes gave the hero killer a hard time. And things only got worse for Stain when Todoroki returned with backup. The hero killer only became angrier. Stain lunged at Todoroki with the intent to kill. All Might and Endeavor weren't fast enough to do anything, but Todoroki was. The half-and-half team trapped the battle-worn hero killer in a block of ice. You're done, Stain. With everything you've done, you'll never see the light of day again. My mission will go on. Hero is a title given only to those who have accomplished great deeds. This society is overgrown with fake heroes and criminals who wave their power around idly. They should all be purged. Until this world realizes its mistake, I will continue to appear. Endeavor punched Stain in the face, knocking him out, while the other heroes called for transport for the apprehended hero killer. All Might investigated the alleyway Stain first emerged from. Blood was splattered against the floor while some was dabbled across the wall. That sight alone would make anyone uneasy. All Might spotted Native leaned against a wall, his body limp. He checked for a pulse and found none. Shaking his head, All Might closed Native's eyes before walking further down the way. He said he already killed two. Where's the other? The metallic shine of plate armor caught All Might's eye, causing fear to grip his heart. He approached the body quickly and more recognizable features came into view, like dark blue hair. No. All Might fell to his knees in front of the bloodied body of Tenya Ada. Ada's glasses were broken and his armor was slashed and smashed. His skin was pale and cold to the touch. His eyes were dull and full of fear, even as All Might brushed Ada's hair from his face. He isn't able to process the situation in front of him. He closed his student's eyes, feeling tears roll down his face. All Might. Todoroki entered the alleyway with Endeavor not too far behind. Are you down here? Endeavor read the room quickly and covered his son's eyes. But it was too late. Todoroki had spotted his classmate. Shoto helped the other thaw out Stain. Todoroki left without question. Endeavor approached All Might and stood beside him. He was one of yours. Yeah, Ingenium's brother. Damn. The two were silent for a while. All Might hated the quiet. Paramedics are on their way. They'll take care of the bodies. I'll give you a few minutes of privacy. All Might nodded thankfully as Endeavor left. The symbol of peace began to sob quietly in the darkened alleyway. All of Japan got news of the victory and tragedy in Hasu the following morning. Not only did the death of the pro hero and student hurt their loved ones, but it was also a stifling blow to Class 1A. For one, everyone was quiet before Aizawa even stepped into the classroom. White chrysanthemums were placed on Ida's desk and Class 1A wore a black sash on their arm as a sign of mourning. Some students from other courses wore black sashes too. Yaorazu became the new class rep with Todoroki as her vice rep. Yaomomo was uncomfortable with the sudden change, but Todoroki was there to help make the adjustment as smooth as possible. Toshinori wasn't strong enough to attend his student's funeral. He hadn't returned to the campus for a few days and mainly focused on hero work. All Might found it exhausting to keep up his smile in the public eye. When he would return home, he would drop his heroic persona and shining smile in favor of the appearance of a grieving old man. Toshinori would try to sleep, but those moments of rest wouldn't last. Every night, his subconscious haunted him with night terrors. His dreams forced him to watch Ada's death over and over again. He could hear his student begging for his life, crying out for All Might to save him. But All Might couldn't move. He couldn't speak, he couldn't fight, and he couldn't look away. All he could do was watch the hero killer carve into his student and listen to Ada's agony. Toshinori would awaken from those dreams in a cold sweat. Tears would roll down his face as he struggled to normalize his breathing. Some of the dreams were so graphic Toshinori would wake up screaming before falling into a shaky coughing fit. By the time he would calm down, he would taste copper. He would feel splattered blood in his hands and the warm fluid running down his chin. His old injuries were getting worse. Thank you all for indulging yourselves in the story thus far. Hope you enjoyed it. Now there are a few more things that I'd like to go over before the video ends. Firstly, we've got a second channel called Anime Deep Dive. Anime Deep Dive goes deep into the facts and lore of a wide variety of anime. It's sure to expand your weeb knowledge for all kinds of series guaranteed. On top of that, we have a third channel called We The Celestials Naruto What Ifs. It's what we do on this channel already but in the vast world and lore of Naruto. Go check it out if you're in the mood for some jutsu action. I'd like to let you all know on behalf of We The Celestials, I'd like to thank everyone involved in the production of today's awesome content. Their details will be in the description below. If you're perhaps interested in what we do here at WTC, then I would like to extend out an invitation to join the team. The only caveat being we only accept members 16 and older to join our crew. You can find us on our Discord, which you can locate in the description below. Our Discord is an all-around fantastic place to be, whether you're a fan or looking to join our band of misfits. All you gotta do is hit up the recruitment server and sign up for whichever category of work that fulfills your interest. We're always looking for members to join us. Well, that's it from us for today's video. So thank you all for watching and have a great day.